This is a video how to use Excel to calculate these data statistics within this table for this given data set on the left hand side here. So the first thing we want to calculate is the mean. By highlighting the cell within our table that corresponds to the mean, pressing the equals button allows us to create a formula to help us calculate the mean. So for the first one, we want to, instead of typing mean, as that doesn't bring up anything, in Excel we want to type average. That will help us bring up a formula to calculate the mean. Now by clicking on that function, in this grey box it tells you the values it wants you to put in to calculate the mean. So this number 1 represents the first data score, number 2 represents the second data score, etc. So we want to calculate the mean for this cell here. A1 is our first data score. There's two ways we can do it. You can highlight the whole data set, although if it's quite an extensive list, all you have to do is have the first cell highlighted. So here we can see it's A1. By pressing the colon button on your keyboard, that brings up this symbol here. You can then scroll to the bottom of your data set and highlight the last score. So here we've got A39, and see how it highlights all our data. Now if you press enter, it'll calculate your data, it'll calculate the mean for the data. If it was a decimal for say, this button here allows you to change the number of decimal places that you want your answer to be. So this increases the number of decimals and this decreases the number of decimals. So we want it as a whole number. So if it does give you a decimal, just keep pressing this increase button until it gives you a whole number. Now the second thing we want to calculate is the median. So by doing that, again we press the equals button, we start to type median. This brings up a median function. Again, we want to calculate the median for our first data score that's in the A1 cell. And again, we can go the whole way through to A39, press enter, and it will bring up the median. Again, we're going to do it for the mode. So we're going to type in the mode function, press enter, go through for A1 through to A39, press enter again. For the maximum number from our data set, press equals, type the word max. So here this will give us the max function. Again, go from A1 to A39, enter. Minimum function equals, find the min from A1 through to A39, enter. Now for the range, when we press equals, if we start typing range, it doesn't actually give us a function that calculates the range. But we know that the range is just the difference between the maximum and minimum values. So to do that, if you press equals, here this is our number that represents our maximum value. So we can click on that cell, D5, and we want to minus, so we want to find the difference between the minimum value, which is this cell here, D6, and it creates this little function for us. Then when you press enter, it actually calculates the difference for you, so 10 minus 1 does give you 9. If you were to change these values, it will actually change this range value here as well. Same with down the left here. If I was to say change this 4 to a 5, or let's go a 6. See how over here these numbers are now changing. Let's go back to what we had. We had was a 4. So again, that median has dropped from 6 back to a 5. Okay, for the standard deviation, press equals and we want to type in standard deviation. But when you type it in, if you start to type standard, this isn't the function that we're looking for. We're actually looking for this one here. So it's under ST and then it's got D for deviation. Click on that one. Again, we want it from A1 to A39. Press enter. The standard deviation, we will keep it as a decimal, but we'll give it to you as a decimal, but we want it as a whole number. So again, press the decrease decimal button and it will changed it from 2.9 to 3. For the interquartile range, again, there isn't a function on Excel that helps you calculate the interquartile range. We've got these functions here, but that's not really what we're after. To calculate the interquartile range, first of all, we're going to actually calculate the box plot for your data set. So by highlighting this column here, that actually highlights all the numbers within this column A. We want to insert a box plot for this data. So up the top here again, it gives you the range of different data, different graphs we can use. Underneath this one here, might look a little bit different to yours, but underneath this one here, it's got a box and whisker plot that you can click on, and it will help you calculate the box plot for the given data set. Now our box plot that we've created doesn't have our quartile values on there. To get these quartile values on there, if you click on your box plot or your chart, go up the top to where it says Add Chart Element. It brings down this drop down menu, and down the bottom here it's got data labels. Either one of these will be okay. Let's just click on the right. That brings these numbers here, if you can see it. That brings these numbers on our box plot, which are our quartile values. So we've got our maximum, which is 10, which we already calculated over here. We've got this value here, which is quartile 3, so Q3. Our median, which is 5, which again we calculated before over here. And then our quartile 1, which is 3.5, and our minimum value of 1. So to calculate now, from our box plot, the interquartile range, all that is, remember, is quartile 3 minus quartile 1. So we've got 8 minus 3.5. Then we can press enter again, and that will do the calculation for you. This one here, I do want you to leave it as 1 decimal place, that's fine. And there you have it. You have all of your needed statistics for your assignment. Don't forget, you need to enter these values onto your assignment sheet, and you need to print off a copy of your box plot to glue onto your assignment sheet, making sure that these values are clearly identified. Great, good luck.